Extreme cold apocalypse. Choose one of two. Which would you choose? 100 tons of premium coal or a custom RV? In my past life, persuaded by my good friend, I chose the 100 tons of coal. But little did I know, he conspired with my most trusted colleague to leave me to freeze to death in the freezing snow. Meanwhile, relying on my coal, they became the uncrowned kings of the apocalypse, feasting on meat and fish every day, surrounded by hundreds of beautiful women serving them on their knees. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually returned to the day of the choice. At this moment, I am standing on the stage of the company annual gala. The host is holding two signs. Congratulations, Arthur, on winning the grand prize. You can choose between 100 tons of premium coal and a basic model custom RV. Pick one of the two options. Just then, my good friend Kane pushed through and put his arm around my shoulder. Choosing coal. Coal prices are getting more and more expensive. They will definitely become even scarcer after some time. With the weather dropping so strangely lately, staying warm is the most important thing. That RV thing is just for show. It uses too much fuel and is hard to maintain. It's completely useless. My most trusted colleague, Silas, also leaned in and nodded in agreement. Exactly, Arthur. An RV is just for show. It's not stable at all. Coal is much more reliable. Their coordinated acting reminded me of my past life. Back then, when the famine was at its worst, the two of them stole all my coal. I curled up in the snow, clinging tightly to the last half bag of coal in my arms. That was my last hope for survival. But Kane and Silas in front of me still wouldn't let me go. Silas kicked my leg, which had already frozen stiff. Arthur, be smart and hand over the rest of the coal. Otherwise, we won't look after you. Kane let out a fake sigh. Arthur, don't blame us. In this apocalypse, coal is life. You can't guard it alone. Just share it with us. That way, we can remember your kindness. I struggled to get up, but I was pinned violently into the snow by Silas. The back of my head slammed hard against a rock. The blood from the wound froze into ice instantly. I could only watch helplessly as the two of them snatched away the last half bag of coal. Before long, the roar of a zombie reached my ears. Then, I felt its claws piercing through my skin. Before my consciousness faded, I had only one thought. If I could do it all over again, I would never trust them again, nor would I cling to that damn coal. Pulling myself back to reality, I suppressed the hatred in my heart and looked up at the host. I choose the custom RV. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole room erupted in an uproar. Silas was so anxious he was stamping his feet. Arthur, are you crazy? What use is a crappy RV? Listen to me. Change it to coal immediately. Change it to coal immediately. Kane also gripped my shoulder tightly. Arthur, don't be impulsive. Think again. Isn't coal more useful than an RV? I shook off his hand from my shoulder. I'm choosing the custom RV. I watched the two of them gritting their teeth, refusing to change my mind. I knew clearly that those 100 tons of coal were my death warrant, while the custom RV was the true mobile sanctuary in the apocalypse. After getting the keys to the custom RV, I immediately contacted the city's top RV modification team. Then, I went home and counted my savings. I also applied for the maximum loan amounts on all online lending platforms. Next came the modification of the custom RV. I presented my requirements to the modification team. I want the highest specification of reinforcement. Weld 10 centimeters of bulletproof armor onto the body. Replace the windows with the highest grade of explosion-proof and bulletproof glass. Raise the chassis by 30 centimeters. Install snow tracks for traction. Replace the tires with puncture-proof military-grade ones. The doors must have multiple heavy-duty locks. Modify the interior into one bedroom, one living room, and one bathroom. Install independent energy storage equipment, a water purification system, and an oxygen supply system. The faster the modification, the better. I want to pick up the vehicle tomorrow morning. The owner of the modification team looked at my determined eyes, then looked at the generous deposit, and immediately agreed to work through the night. I waited at the modification factory. While watching the workers construct, I was frantically placing orders online. Every survival supply I could think of, I bought as much as possible. I planned to fill every storage space in the RV. I don't know if things will change in the future, but in the apocalypse, I can only rely on myself. The RV modification was completed by early the next morning. I got in to inspect it. At this time, the internal constant temperature system had been debugged. The storage space was also very large. I sat in the driver's seat, just as my fingertips touched the steering wheel. A mechanical voice rang out in my mind. RV Fortress system bound successfully. Host, Arthur. Initial functions unlocked. Infinite basic supply replenishment. Basic defense active. Internal temperature, 25 degrees Celsius. Self-sufficient energy. Hearing this, I froze, then laughed loudly at the sky. This meant that in the apocalypse, I would no longer need to worry about food and resources. Following the system's prompts, I opened the supply hatch next to the passenger seat. A bag of rice actually slid out. I tried once more, and a bottle of drinking water was delivered. Looking at the control panel, the RV's empty fuel tank was also instantly filled. I felt relieved. In this life, I have not only a mobile fortress, but also infinite supplies. I parked the car below my apartment building. Late at night, global temperatures dropped below zero. Panic began to emerge on the streets. Some were shivering from the cold. Some were frantically looting supplies in supermarkets, while I sat in my warm, spring-like RV, quietly waiting for the apocalypse to arrive. The next morning, I was awakened by the noise outside the window. Through the window, I saw howling wind and snow. Visibility was less than 5 meters. Global emergency alert. Temperature minus 40 degrees Celsius. Countless emergency alerts popped up on the screen instantly. The temperature plummeted to minus 40 degrees Celsius overnight. Global water and electricity were completely cut off. Traffic is paralyzed. Multiple unexplained attacks on people are occurring in various places. The attackers are extremely aggressive. They are also suspected of carrying viral infections and bacteria. The apocalypse has truly arrived. I immediately locked all the doors and windows of the custom RV. I activated the vehicle's constant temperature system. The system prompt sounded accordingly. Energy is sufficient. Constant temperature of 25 degrees Celsius has been activated. I exchanged a bowl of hot porridge and a plate of pickles at the supply port. I sat at the table and ate slowly. Outside the window, it was already a living hell. A group of people turned into monsters had appeared on the streets. Their skin was bluish-purple, stiff all over, yet possessing immense strength, roaring as it lunges at the survivors. They were zombies. I didn't expect them to appear even earlier than in my previous life, and even more ferocious. Within just a few seconds of being attacked, the survivors began showing the same symptoms. A zombie spotted my custom RV. It rushed forward and slammed hard against the vehicle. A nearby ordinary car was dented and deformed by a single impact from a zombie. But my custom RV only showed a shallow mark. At this moment, the system's voice sounded in my head. System prompt. Impact detected. Basic defense active. Vehicle hardness increased. I made a cup of coffee using hot water from the system supplies. Looking at the tragedy outside the window, I was not moved in the slightest. My tragic death in my previous life taught me that being soft-hearted in the apocalypse is being cruel to oneself. As I left the table, I accidentally cut my finger on the corner of the table. Blood immediately seeped from the wound. I immediately opened the system's supply list. I exchanged for iodine and bandages. After treating the wound, I couldn't help but marvel. The convenience of the system is truly reassuring. You know what's also a relief? Today's sponsor, Claire. If you're watching this video to procrastinate your lectures, I got you. Most AI tools only summarize the content, make flashcards, make quizzes, but none of that makes sense when you have to watch a lecture. Personally, I just upload my lecture to Claire, and it turns it into a 20-minute read. Way better than ChatGPT because it actually teaches you, assuming you don't understand anything. The teaching quality is almost as good as this guy in my opinion. Then I use whatever study tools like Turbo AI to memorize the content. Claire also works even if your professor can't teach well. So definitely check out Claire if you need to catch up on lectures. Link in the description. Anyway, back to Arthur. Not long after, a burst of urgent knocking broke the silence inside the custom RV. I listened closely. It was mixed with Kane shouting, "Arthur, open the door. Save us." I looked out the window. These two were covered in snow. Lips turned purple from the cold. Several neighbors and colleagues followed behind, pounding on the door and crying out, "Arthur, I know you're in there. Hurry and open the door to let us in. There are monsters everywhere outside. It's too terrifying. Even though you didn't listen to us about choosing coal, we won't hold it against you. Just open the door and let us hide inside." Also pounded violently on the RV door. "Arthur, you can't just watch us die. We are colleagues, and your RV is so large. What's wrong with letting us in to hide? I know you must have stockpiled supplies. Just share a little with us. Otherwise, we will all freeze to death outside." I sneered, wondering where they got such confidence. Still thinking I am the kind of Arthur who wouldn't bear to see his good brothers suffer. They didn't just want to come in and hide for a while. They clearly wanted to seize my RV and supplies. I walked to the car door and coldly scanned the two through the armored glass. "I can't save you. Find your own way." Hearing this, Silas pounded the door in a rage. "Arthur, you are cold-blooded and heartless. You will get what you deserve." Seeing that I was no longer so easy to deceive, also began cursing angrily. "Arthur, you ungrateful wolf. I was so good to you back then, and yet you refused to save me." Their shouting attracted several zombies. Immediately, the zombies roared and lunged at the group. They instantly scattered in panic. Kane and Silas turned and ran in terror. Several neighbors who ran too slowly were tackled by zombies. Screams echoed through the residential area. Watching this scene, my heart remained unmoved. Yet I still called out to the elderly and children, hiding in the corners. "There are no zombies in the western garage. Hurry and hide there. There are more and more zombies in the area. I can't stay here any longer." I started the RV. The snow tracks steadily rolled over the frozen road, easily passing over several abandoned cars. System notification 1. Complex road conditions detected. Power adapted to snow mode 4. Driving stability increased. I plan my route, driving toward the outskirts of the city. The city is densely populated, and the number of zombies will only increase. The outskirts are relatively safer. The RV sped along, and as I gripped the steering wheel, I began my first journey of survival in the apocalypse. With a mobile fortress and the system, I have nothing to fear. After driving for half a day, I parked the RV at a highway service area. This place is deserted, with no signs of zombies for now. I opened the system supplies and cooked a pot of noodles, adding ham and 2 eggs. In this resource-scarce apocalypse, such a simple meal is the ultimate luxury. After eating my fill, I got out to check the RV's condition. After being hit by zombies so many times, I needed to see if the vehicle body was damaged. Just then, a system notification rang in my head. Having withstood 10 zombie impacts, the defense system has automatically upgraded. The armor thickness of the vehicle body has doubled, and new side guardrails have been added. Defense capabilities have significantly increased. At the same time, a new function popped up on the system panel. Weapon supply permissions unlocked. 10 crossbow bolts and 2 machetes can be exchanged daily. I was overjoyed. With weapons, my ability to protect myself has strengthened. I immediately exchanged for a machete and several crossbow bolts, placing them somewhere within easy reach. Just as I finished organizing the weapons and prepared to set off again, I saw Silas and Kane surrounding me with 3 strangers. They were holding iron rods, staring greedily at the RV, waiting for a chance to seize it. Silas stood at the front, waving an iron rod. Arthur, I didn't expect you to be hiding so much. This RV really is a great thing. It seems we truly underestimated you before. Be smart and open the door immediately. Hand over the RV and the supplies. Otherwise, we won't be polite. Kane frowned at me. Arthur, we have no choice. We've been hiding for days. We almost died in the mouths of zombies. For the sake of our past brotherhood, just let us on the vehicle. We definitely won't steal anything from you. A burly man nearby reached out to pry the door open. Don't waste words with him. Just smash it open. Then this RV will be ours. But as soon as his hand touched the armored door, the rebound force made it ache intensely. He cried out in pain. I glared at them from the driver's seat, then pressed a button on the control panel. Sturdy guardrails suddenly popped out from both sides of the RV, forcing them to retreat. Then I opened the roof skylight, raised my crossbow, and aimed at the iron rod in Silas's hand. I pulled the trigger without hesitation. The bolt accurately knocked the iron rod to the ground. Seeing this, Silas trembled all over with fear. But your hearts. Get lost. If you dare approach again, the next thing this bolt aims at won't be an iron rod, but rather, your hearts. Silas didn't expect me to have a weapon. Seeing that a forced takeover wouldn't work, he suddenly shouted toward the distance. Zombies, come over here. There are living humans here. He actually wanted to lure the zombies to besiege me. Soon, dozens of zombies rushed over. Silas and the others immediately hid to the side, waiting to see me in a desperate struggle against the zombies. I immediately pressed the defense button. A fine protective net automatically rose from the roof of the RV. The zombies crashed frantically against the RV, but were blocked by the net and the heavy armor. They couldn't get close at all. Instead, they began biting each other due to the crowding. System notification. Dense zombie attacks detected. Automatically supplying disinfectant spray to prevent zombie fluids from remaining on the vehicle and causing corrosion. Then, several nozzles popped out from the side of the RV, spraying disinfectant to clean the corpse fluids splashed on the vehicle. Seeing that the zombies couldn't get close, I drove the RV towards Silas and the others. They were terrified. They didn't even think about trying to take the vehicle. As they turned to run, 2 of the slower survivors were instantly tackled by zombies. A series of ear-piercing screams followed. Silas and Kane ran for their lives. They barely escaped after leaving the zombies behind. I didn't go out of my way to kill them, not because I was soft-hearted, but because I didn't want to waste my time and energy on them. Without supplies or a way to stay warm, they could only hide in this apocalypse. Living a life worse than death is more satisfying than killing them directly. Watching the 2 of them flee in panic, I made a silent vow in my heart. In this life, I will never repeat the mistakes of my past life. And for everything you did to me in my past life, I will take it all back, one by one. Just then, the system's voice echoed in my mind again. System notification. Human-made crisis successfully resolved. Supply categories unlocked and upgraded. Added, thermal sleeping bags. Emergency, fuel refills, unlimited. Hearing this, I felt relieved. After confirming there were no issues with the RV, I started the vehicle. Relying on my memories from my past life, I drove toward the agricultural warehouse rumored to have abundant supplies. By evening, I finally reached my destination. The area was covered in thick snow. It looked deserted. I got out of the car to scout the area. I found only 3 ordinary zombies wandering around the perimeter of the warehouse. I grabbed my machete and stepped out of the car. I quietly circled behind the zombies. Taking them by surprise, I struck the zombie in the back of the head. The zombie fell instantly. The remaining 2 zombies heard the commotion and lunged at me with roars. I dodged the zombies and retreated to the car. I drove the RV forward, knocking the zombies to the ground. Before they could get back up, I quickly jumped out to finish them off. I dealt with them cleanly and efficiently. Then, I entered the warehouse. The inside was unexpectedly clean and tidy. I even found many seeds in the corner that hadn't been frozen. After bringing the seeds back to the car, a system notification sounded in my head. Special supplies detected. Seed supply function upgraded. Can infinitely exchange various types of crop seeds. Meets long-term survival needs. This is simply incredible news. Once I have the seeds, I can cultivate land in a suitable place to achieve food self-sufficiency, instead of relying solely on finished food from the system for energy. While I was joyfully organizing the seeds, a roar suddenly came from deep within the warehouse. Then, a massive zombie rushed out. It was more agile than ordinary zombies. It must be a high-level zombie mutated from the warehouse manager. With the added effect of the low-temperature environment, its combat power had also become stronger. At that moment, It suddenly roared and lunged at me. I dodged urgently, then rushed back into the RV. I started the custom RV and rammed it hard with the rear. But the high-level zombie's defense was stronger. After being hit by the RV, it only retreated a few steps. Not only was it unharmed, but it actually became even more enraged. It suddenly grabbed the rear of the RV, dragging the vehicle backward several meters with brute force. A visible dent was even gouged into the vehicle's armor. At this moment, the system voice sounded again. System notification. High-intensity attack detected. Defense alarm sounding. Energy consumption increasing. I stood up and opened the RV's sunroof. Using the crossbow bolts exchanged last time, I aimed and fired at the zombie. But after the arrows hit it, the sharp tips couldn't even pierce the zombie's skin, leaving only a shallow mark. I was shocked. This high-level zombie is too terrifying. The weapons in my hands cannot cause it any damage. I am no match for a high-level zombie. At this critical moment, a woman suddenly rushed out from the shadows of the warehouse. She was holding a homemade Molotov cocktail and threw it hard at the high-level zombie's eye. With a poof, flames instantly erupted. The high-level zombie cried out in pain, letting go of the RV, and began clutching its eye, screaming wildly. The woman took the opportunity to scream. Attack its head. That is its weakness. Its body is very hard, but the skull hasn't fully calcified yet. Hearing this, I immediately opened the system's weapon supply. This time, the system actually popped up a limited time exchange option. Limited time unlock. Flamethrower. Weapon exchange is valid for a limited time. Weapon can be used to kill high-level zombies. I grabbed the exchanged flamethrower and rushed out of the RV. I aimed the flames at the high-level zombie's head. The high-temperature flames scorched the zombie's head. It let out a shrill scream. Its body struggled continuously, but it could not escape the burning flames. Meanwhile, the woman used a rope to set a mechanical trap, entangling the high-level zombie's legs to keep it from moving. A few minutes later, the high-level zombie finally fell to the ground. I kept the flamethrower aimed at it until the high-level zombie's corpse was burned into a pile of ash. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. After turning off the flamethrower, I looked at the woman and bowed to thank her. Thank you for saving me. My name is Arthur. The woman waved her hand with a cold face. It was nothing. My name is Sujia, and I'm a mechanic. I've been hiding in this warehouse for several days. I've wanted to get rid of this monster for a long time. I just haven't had the chance. Sujia looked at my RV. Her eyes showed unmistakable admiration. You've modified this RV really well. It's practically the best life-saving charm in the apocalypse. I understand mechanics and can help you maintain the RV. I can check your equipment and even help you modify some small gadgets. I only ask that you let me hitch a ride. I won't be greedy for your supplies, and I will never betray you. If I ever have any ill intentions, you can kick me off the vehicle at any time. I observed Sujia. She was pretty, with pure eyes in her long, narrow gaze. She was tall, dressed neatly, and she had just stepped in to save me without hesitation. Without her, I don't know how much of a price I would have had to pay to eliminate that high-level zombie. She should be a trustworthy person. It's too lonely to be alone in the apocalypse. Having a helper who understands mechanics would also save a lot of trouble. I nodded. Fine, you can get in the car. We will survive together from now on. After Sujia and I finished clearing the supplies from the warehouse, I took Sujia into the car to learn about its various functions. Sujia carefully inspected the RV and used parts from the warehouse to repair the damage caused by the high-level zombie. At this time, the system notification sounded. High-level zombie successfully slain. Energy core upgraded. RV range increased. New storage expansion added to the vehicle. Can hold more supplies. While resting, Sujia and I talked about what had happened along the way. Hearing this, Sujia lowered her head and thought for a moment. There is an evil camp in the suburbs. The leader is ruthless, and they have many subordinates. They specialize in robbing survivors of their supplies and vehicles. Their methods are extremely cruel. Those two people you met before most likely joined that camp. They will definitely bring people to cause trouble for you. We must quickly avoid the direction of the camp, heading towards the remote mountainous area. There are fewer zombies there, and it won't be easy for the camp members to find us. I nodded. You're right, let's set off now. After Sujia and I packed our things, we drove the RV toward the more remote mountains, preparing to find a place where we could settle long-term, to avoid the approaching crisis. Along the way, Sujia and I took turns driving. We avoided zombie gathering areas as much as possible. Just as we were about to arrive at a valley, the roar of engines came from behind. I looked in the rearview mirror. Over a dozen off-road vehicles were chasing the RV. The leaders were none other than Kane and Silas. The two were also with over a dozen strong men holding shotguns. Clearly, they were from the evil camp. Soon, the off-road vehicles caught up to the RV and forced us to a stop on a narrow mountain road. Silas walked to the front of the RV with a shotgun. Arthur, run. Why did you stop running? I knew you would hide in the mountains. Fortunately, we were well prepared. Get out of the car if you know what's good for you. Hand over the RV and the supplies. The boss said, as long as you obey, he'll let you live. Otherwise, don't blame us for being ruthless. Kane also got out of the car. Arthur, do you think you can escape? Open the door if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, we will start shooting. No matter how strong your RV is, it won't withstand repeated shotgun fire. Seeing this, Sujia and I exchanged a glance. Sujia understood immediately. I was responsible for controlling the RV's defense system and supplies, while I was responsible for the counterattack. This mountain road is narrow. The enemy has more people, but cannot spread out. It is the perfect place to defend. Seeing that I didn't respond, Silas gave the order. Smash it. Break the door open. The thugs behind him began shooting. The bullets hit the RV, leaving only shallow bullet marks. The bulletproof glass remained unharmed. The system prompt rang out at the right time. Gunfire detected. Automatically raising vehicle shields. Full defense activated. Sturdy shields rose around the RV, blocking all the bullets. I took the crossbow bolts and flamethrower exchanged by Sujia. I opened the sunroof and fired at the thugs on the mountain road. The crossbow bolts accurately hit the mortals' legs. The flames from the flamethrower made everyone flee in terror. Half of them were killed or injured in an instant. Screams rose one after another. Seeing this, Silas personally drove his vehicle toward the RV. I don't believe I can't crash through you. But Sujia was prepared. Pressing a button, sturdy collision bars popped out from the side of the RV, flipping over Silas's approaching off-road vehicle, sending both the person and the vehicle crashing into the nearby ravine. With a loud crash, Kane saw Silas fall off the cliff, and was so terrified that he fell to his knees, kowtowing continuously toward the RV. Arthur. I was wrong. Silas forced me. He told me to join the camp, and told me to bring them to you. Please spare me. I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again, I said, glancing at him with a calm expression. In the apocalypse, mistakes must be paid for. Kane's face turned pale. He wanted to continue begging for mercy. Just then, the roars of zombies came from the distance. Several zombies attracted by the gunshots lunged forward, instantly pinning Kane to the ground. His screams gradually faded into the cold wind. At that moment, Silas, who had fallen into the ravine, actually climbed back up, holding a dagger in his hand. He wanted to take the opportunity to ambush me in the RV. Sujia was quick to react, and controlled the RV's tracks to rotate, crushing toward Silas. Silas had no time to dodge, and was crushed by the tracks, losing his life completely. Looking at the two men's miserable deaths, a sense of satisfaction from successful revenge rose in my heart. Seeing this, the remaining people were terrified. They dropped their weapons and began to flee in all directions. Sujia and I did not continue the pursuit. After collecting the weapons from the mountain road, we continued driving toward the valley. System notification. Ultimate crisis successfully resolved. The RV has evolved into a mobile fortress. Ultimate functions unlocked. Camp anchoring can fix the area within 10 meters around the RV, creating a safe zone with a constant temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, resisting zombies and low temperatures. Infinite supplies of all categories unlocked, including various medical supplies, mechanical repair supplies, living supplies, and more, meeting long-term survival needs. I was overjoyed to hear this. The unlocking of ultimate functions meant that I could finally settle down. Sujia and I drove the RV to that leeward valley, surrounded by mountains on three sides. It was easy to defend and hard to attack. It is an excellent place to settle down. I pressed the camp anchoring button. The RV stabilized firmly on the ground. An invisible barrier instantly rose within a 10-meter radius. The temperature is constant at 25 degrees Celsius, keeping the cold wind and snow out. In the days that followed, Sujia and I began building a temporary safe zone. We used the seeds provided by the system to cultivate the land, planting vegetables and grains. Sujia used her mechanical knowledge to continue helping me improve the RV's facilities. Occasionally, a few zombies would wander into the valley, but they were all easily dealt with. Inside the RV's anchored constant temperature safe zone, green vegetables had already begun to sprout. Using wood and metal parts supplied by the system, Sujia built a simple storage shed and a fence, expanding the 10-meter safe zone by another 5 meters. She also installed warning bells. Whenever a zombie approached, the bells would ring clearly. Every morning, I first checked the RV system, confirming that energy was sufficient, and that the supply channels were functioning normally, before checking the growth of the crops in the fields. The seeds exchanged from the system were highly adaptable. Even in the low temperatures of the valley, thanks to the constant temperature of the safe zone, the vegetables were growing impressively. Sujia stayed by the RV, carefully inspecting the tracks and the defense system. She was very fond of the RV, and wouldn't allow for any negligence. This afternoon, a faint cry for help suddenly came from outside the valley. Sujia and I instantly became alert. After grabbing our weapons, we followed the sound back into the valley. We saw a pair of sisters curled up in the snow. The two sisters were not even 20 years old. They were wearing thin, ragged cotton clothes. Their lips turned purple from the cold. The older sister's leg had been scratched by a zombie. The wound was already red, swollen, and festering. Seeing this, I couldn't help but remember how helpless I was in my previous life. My heart stirred, but I did not rush to help. I looked down at them. Who are you? How did you end up here? The older sister looked up weakly. We escaped from the city. My family was bitten by zombies. Only the two of us are left. We've been hiding all the way. We stumbled upon this place by accident. Please, I beg you to take us in. The older sister was elegant and beautiful. I can do any kind of work. I won't cause you any trouble. Sujia watched the two sisters, seeing the woman's sincere eyes, and how pitiful the sister looked, especially since her injuries were severe. She knew that if left alone, she wouldn't survive the night. Our safe zone is very stable right now. Having 2 more people could help out. We just need to confirm she isn't infected with the virus first. I nodded. I took out the virus test kit exchanged from the system. After confirming the woman only had a simple scratch and showed no signs of infection, I allowed them into the safe zone. Then, I used the special medicine from the system supplies to treat the older sister's wound and cooked hot porridge for them to eat. The sister's eyes were full of gratitude. My sister is elegant and ethereal. Her name was Xinxinghe. She used to be a preschool teacher. The younger sister had bright eyes and a lovely smile. Her name was Xunlexi. She hadn't even graduated from university yet. The 2 sisters were very hardworking. They helped with laundry and cooking every day, bringing a bit of life to the valley. But the peaceful days didn't last even half a month. Crisis descended once again. Late that night, the warning bell suddenly rang frantically. I woke up with a start. Looking through the custom RV's monitor, I saw at the valley entrance. Over a dozen mutated zombies had arrived. Not only are they cold resistant, but they can also breathe out frost, with skin glowing ice blue. These were the ice zombies Su Jie had mentioned. This type of zombie is a mutation from the late stage of the cold wave. It can not only withstand the cold, but also spray frost. Anything they touch is instantly frozen. Their combat power far exceeds ordinary zombies. And behind the ice zombies, they were still following the remnants of the evil camp's subordinates. They were holding ice axes, clearly intending to take advantage of the ice zombies' attack, to plunder the supplies and the custom RV in the safe zone. I gave the order without hesitation. Su Jie, activate the custom RV's ultimate defense. Raise the outer armor. Xinxinghe took his sister and hid in the innermost layer of the custom RV, locking the door. I stood by the fence with a flamethrower. System prompt. Mutated ice zombie detected. Ultimate defense fully activated. Outer armor thickened. Energy fully supplied to the flame defense belt. A ring of flame defense rose around the custom RV instantly. As soon as the ice zombies approached, the ice shards on them began to melt. Yet they continued to roar and charge forward. The camp's remaining subordinates hid behind the zombies, throwing ice axes to try and destroy the fence. Su Jie operated the custom RV's defense system. Arthur, we can't go on like this. The flame defense belt consumes energy. Moreover, ice-type zombies are not afraid of low temperatures. We must attack their head weakness. I'll go modify some flame traps. You hold the front. Arthur, you hold the front. With those words, Su Jie immediately rushed into the storage shed, taking out gasoline and metal parts to set traps outside the fence. I controlled the flamethrower, aiming it at the ice zombies' heads. High-temperature flames burned them instantly. The zombies let out a piercing roar. They fell to the ground, convulsed for a moment, and then went still. Xinxinghe and his sister hid inside the custom RV. Relying on the first aid knowledge he had learned before, he organized the bandages and disinfectant from the system supplies. Then, the control panel diverted the custom RV's backup energy to power the defense system. Little sister, brother Arthur, sister Sue, the backup energy is connected. We can hold on. Just then, an ice zombie broke through the flame defense belt and lunged at me. I dodged to the side, but my arm was scratched by the zombie's sharp claws. Enduring the pain, I raised the flamethrower and sprayed it fiercely at the zombie's head. I only breathed a sigh of relief once the zombie turned to ash. Su Jie's flame traps were also set. She pressed the switch, and a massive fire erupted outside the fence instantly, trapping the ice zombies and the camp's remaining men. Screams and roars mixed together. Seeing this, the remaining men of the camp turned and ran. But they were targeted by the ice zombies and were instantly tackled and bitten. The remaining few ice zombies were all slain by the joint attack of Su Jie and me. After the battle ended, the safe zone was in total disarray. Xinxinghe helped me bandage my arm. Su Jie was also exhausted and drenched in sweat. Xunlexi brought hot water and food. Brother Arthur, sister Sue, you've worked hard. If it weren't for you, my sister and I would be gone long ago. I took the food and smiled. It's okay, as long as we can protect our safe zone. System notification. Successfully slain mutated ice zombie. Safe zone reinforced. New ice defense barrier added. Can resist cold attacks. Supply replenishment. New special medical medicine added. Can rapidly heal zombie scratches. Hearing this, I immediately exchanged for the new special medicine. After Xinxinghe applied it, the pain instantly vanished. The wound also healed at a visible speed. Next, in the eyes. In the following days, we worked together to improve the safe zone. Using weapons and parts left by the camp's remaining men, Su Jie upgraded the fences and warning devices to be stronger, and even dug traps at the valley entrance. Xinxinghe kept the fields well tended, and even taught Xunlexi how to identify crops. As more and more vegetables were grown in the safe zone, the system also unlocked chicken and duck exchanges. I would regularly drive the RV out to scout, to confirm there were no large-scale zombie tides or hostile forces nearby, and bring back useful supplies in the process. The RV's range and defense also became increasingly powerful through each scouting trip. As the sun set, I stood among the field ridges, watching Su Jie repair farming tools, seeing Xinxinghe feeding the chickens and ducks with Xunlexi. Cooking smoke rose from the RV. The aroma of food filled the safe zone. Outside the valley, it was still a world of ice and snow. The zombies' roars were endless. The apocalypse has not yet ended, but I am no longer the isolated and helpless person I was in my past life. The weak are at the mercy of others, but I have an impregnable mobile fortress, reliable companions, an endless supply of resources, and the confidence and hope to survive. Shenlexi ran over holding a bouquet of flowers. Here, Jingyan Gij. Look, aren't they beautiful? I took the wildflowers and looked at the RV nearby. A peaceful smile rose on my lips. No matter how hard the apocalypse gets, as long as this mobile fortress is here, and I have the people by my side, I will have nothing to fear. Every day from now on can be spent in peace.